Hello everybody, Всем привет. Today we're going to talk about movement, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to buy some of the Nomad boots here, and so you'll notice here like Fundax, I guess we've got. Um, I will quickly build some trolls here. So let's see, we need a bridge of trolls. We need some fast creatures. And this gives us the max movement points. And so now we get a couple more. So Fundax can move quite far now because he's got only fast creatures in his army, and he's got the Nomad boots, which give you like another 24, I think, 24 movement points on land. And in my build of the game, my current build, which I will show you, we have this yellow bar, but I don't have the plus animation showing up. So it seems like it's working. What actually is going on inside the game is I'm just going to pull this up quickly. So we have inside HEROES.AGG, there is a folder called Mobility. So it looks like this. And what is inside Mobility, I guess I want to see if I can make these extra large. It doesn't really help that much, but maybe I can do it this way, where this is like well, it's kind of, it's weirdly, this is essentially the mobility bar over like 20 or 30 sprites, but you can see a little bit what's happening here, that these are each animated sprites that are overlaid one another based on how many movement points you have left. And what I had not implemented was this plus 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 that builds up. And so that's what I was going to be working on in this session. And this is the current state, is I got it to sort of work, but I didn't add in the extra plus effects when you have an artifact that causes you, or if you're sorceress in a ship on the ocean, you get a bunch of bonus movement as well. So the bonus movement wasn't showing up as pluses, which is definitely a thing in the real game. So I gave the game a sample of this. Let's see if I can show this. So this sample of the image, the 25 PNG that had that, I gave it this visualization of what these looked like, and the spec, the actual spec of their width and height and offsets and things like that. Dumped in a lot of the code, hero movement documentation, and I explained a lot of the sort of more precise rules that I didn't understand the first time around. And I studied a bunch of this on HMM Handbook.ru, where he broke down where a lot of these values come from. And so the most important thing is image 23 here. So 23, 24, 25 each have a plus, or will have several pluses on them. And those represent different range values of movement points. So your basically 22 is a full bar, and that basically means a movement point value of between 60 to 62. And then 25 has three plus symbol characters on the bar, and they represent additional movement points. So 0023, which has 1 plus, 63 to 73 remaining movement points. 0024, which has 2 pluses, is 74 to 84 movement points. And 0025 with 3 pluses represents 85 plus remaining movement points. Anything over 85 should just be represented by that until that drops below 85. Then it's represented by 24 until that drops below 74, then 23. And then below 60, it starts to decrement aggressively from 22 down to 0001, which should represent 3 movement points, and 000, which should represent 0 and empty. So each bar 1 to 22 represents about n minus 1 times 3 movement points inclusive. That's kind of my rough formula that I gave the AI. And I would think I was doing something like that before where it was about 3, but I don't remember what I had done in the code. It was like a couple months ago when I cooked that up. So, and I haven't looked back at it. I just threw the code in the AI and it'll tell me if something's weird. So, and then there's this last step rule, which I didn't really know about. It's nice to have. This was definitely from HMM Handbook.ru. So the hero takes a step from one cell to another, including interacting with an object located on another cell. The flow is carried out in accordance with the cost of the step on the cell from which it's taken. So your last step, like if it's on to desert, if it's like grass to desert, the cost is the same as grass. And if the hero has enough movement points to step horizontally, vertically, he can also step diagonally as the last step rule. The hero does not have to have enough movement points for a diagonal step in the current landscape, but enough for a straight step so that he can take a step in any direction. So that last step, you get like a little bonus on your last step to like just reach a target. The hero doesn't have enough movement points to step in a straight line on the square where the hero takes a step, or where the object with which the hero interacts is located, then the rest of the hero's move is reset to 0. So you can't have like 3 movement points really left at the end. Then there's some minor things also. This teleporting. Teleporting doesn't cost, but there is like a little effect depending on what the land is underneath where you teleport to. And Dimension Door takes 12 movement points from a hero, Town Gate as well. If you have less than 12 movement points, so basically between 1 to 12 movement points, you can still cast it once more, but then that resets your movement points to 0. And then this, like the slowest creature, if you have a slow creature in your army, your max movement points are 40. If you have the slowest creature as average, the max movement points are 50. And if you only have fast creatures like phoenixes, gargoyles, nomads, stuff like that, then you get 60 movement points to start. So it's kind of like the troops slow down your logistics based on their speed. So this was just some basic restatements, and I added in Spellbook to handle processing of the Dimension Door spells. So we go through this, does a bunch of work. It misunderstood me on Town Gate, misunderstood reset to 0 for MP, thinking that once you cast a spell, it sets your movement points to 0, and that's not true. It just deducts 12 movement points every time. So I re-explained that. It understood. I attached the files it requested. It was missing some stuff. Threw in the AI and said, hey, let's make sure that these costs also apply to the AI. And then there's actually the smart and genius AI opponents. Did I say this as well? I think I said this somewhere. But smart and genius AI heroes get a +3 movement point bonus, but they also have to pay a movement point when they interact with a like picking up a chest or picking up some resource. So I had to add that in as a slight sort of cost balancing thing that I think it makes the AI a little more aggressive if they have a little more movement points, or it gives them just a touch of a bonus, but it also costs them a little more to interact with objects. So they pay 1 movement point. And I said, don't tinker with the class minimum movement points. It's based on the creatures in the hero's army. Let's ignore that change to the minimum for the hero. So yeah, but they have to pay +1 movement point when visiting map objects. And so that doesn't mean like battles or other things. I sort of listed out, yes, for every interaction. I said initially that it includes battles, but I changed my mind later. And then every smart genius hero add the helper function. So we go through, and I think my next message to the AI, I decide that I've changed my mind, which, that's my fault for wasting tokens. Boarding and disembarking a boat takes up all remaining movement points. I give it some examples for max sorceress, and I actually think the max sorceress here is 280. I took this example from HMM Handbook.ru, and I think this is actually incorrect because you get 40 bonus movement from um, the true compass of mobility. I think you get 40 as the sorceress because it gives you 20 to each. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's 10 of each. Maybe I might actually have that wrong where it's giving you 10 and not doubled. So I'll have to double check that my true compass of mobility is being processed correctly. So the compass is +20. It should be right. The astrolabe is +40. And the lighthouse is +20, so that's 140. So that gets doubled. So maybe it was just the doubling effect that was wrong. I don't know. Or maybe the game or the other logic wasn't doubling the compass because the compass should have been 40, I think. The astrolabe gives you, maybe, does the compass only give you +10 for each? Okay, I don't remember, but anyway, it's whether it's 260 or 280 for the sorceress isn't that important. So okay, yeah, it's the example wasn't doubling the I think the compass is not an exception. I think that's a math error on the site. So make 280 the max for sorceress. The compass should double its effect for her. So I think that's right. I was just confused like the AI. I think the website made a mistake and didn't double the compass correctly. For the sorceress, the effect for the sorceress. And then I also, when I previously, the very first time I worked on the movement points, I think I computed like multiple elements of like if the sorceress had 14 astrolabes or whatever they're called, um, that would give her the maximum. She could actually only have 13 because she would have a spell book, but if she had that much and each one gave her 40 movement points on sea, she was on the boat, she had the lighthouse, and I computed that as like the max, and it was like something like 2,000 movement points. It was some very high number. And then I realized, or I learned later, that the game only gives you 1 bonus. So if you have 2 astrolabes, you don't get a bonus for it. If you have 2 nomad boots, you get the bonus for 1 pair of nomad boots. So it's better to split up duplicate artifacts like that to different heroes. And I should probably check if that applies to the sacks of gold. I don't think it does. I think the sacks of gold are computed correctly. But we'll see. Anyway, we go through this. Uh, it looks good, and we update some of the documentation, and then we still kind of go through and tinker a bit with the AI functionality, and we're just arguing some with the AI, giving it some direction on how to process the AI movement. And then now that I think about it, I want to cancel changing the AI hero for battles or the join except battles, where creatures want to join them for greater glory. That's not really, I think that sort of disincentivizes them from going into battles, and I actually want my AI heroes to be a little more aggressive. All right, so let me pull up the function here. It is called it fixed movement plus visualization. So this is my new version of the game. I want to spawn it a little bit until I get an artifact that gives me some movement bonus. And normally I would be excited to get a purse of gold there, but no such luck yet. So just bear with me a moment. Maybe go get yourself a cup of coffee or a glass of water. I guess I could also clip this out of the video if this takes much longer to get the artifact. I want to say there's like 33 artifacts that you can possibly get. There's actually like 37 or 38 artifacts maybe. 0 to 37 is what it is in I think it's in hex actually. 25 in hex is 37, and it's also 0 based. So there's 38 artifacts that you can get, and 4 of them are ultimate artifacts, so those aren't going to turn up on the in the random selected artifacts, and the spell book also is not going to turn up. You can't like find a spell book. Oh, that might be cool if you could find a spell book. Well, there's a compass. We'll take it. Sure. So we'll go back here. We're going to buy some gargoyles and start a new day with Falgar, and suddenly we have 2. So we have something like, what is it, between 73 and 80 movement points for Falgar here. So, yep, I'm very happy with how that worked, and that's how we added the plus movement, corrected the movements. And we also did some fixes to like how the spell movements were being credited, and we also fixed some of the logic of that the last step, allowing you to basically squeeze a little more out if you're very close to something you want to interact with at the end. They sort of give you a little I guess it's more of a removal of a penalty than an actual bonus. So there's just a little more of a free pass at the end on that last step. Now I probably need to adjust a few things with routing, especially with forests. Most of my mountain stuff seems to be working consistently now, but my forest routing is still a little dodgy. And so I may need to like factor in that last step into routing a little better, such that we get some cleaner routes. And also aren't able to cut through the forests as easily as we have been. So that's one like final thing I need to tinker with, but I'm sure that I'll get to it eventually.